Understanding Japan Through the Karate Kid. I want to recommend to you an outstanding blog by Hikosaemon. One of the most interesting and explanatory pieces of information I've ever enjoyed about Japan in print or online. This piece explains some of the most curious and challenging elements, at least from a foreigner's perspective, of living in Japan, especially if you choose to go the route of working in a Japanese company, working side by side, shoulder to shoulder with the Japanese, under the auspices of Japanese management and under the expectations of the Japanese system of protocol and routine and expectation, goal orientation, and lifestyle. For example, this article explains some of the things that I've often wondered about that until now I couldn't quite understand. For example, the Japanese meetings, how Japanese meetings often will go on and on over detailed minutia, hitting the bullet points of the agenda, bam, 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 in sequence with incredibly astonishing detail, lingering over bits and pieces that I could never understand. And I've gone through lots of meetings when I worked in the West where the goal was to find a solution and move on quickly without necessarily a need to fill a particular allotment of time or to explore everything in excruciating detail, regardless of whether it was being efficient or not. This is something I've never understood about Japan, and this article explains that. Another thing it explains is the Japanese seeming disinterest in efficiency. Well, maybe that's not the way to say it. The Japanese preference for protocol, for going through the steps rather than finding a more efficient means. For example, I've worked in Japanese companies where templates don't seem to be used in a computer system, where it would be really easy to make a job more efficient through the creation of a Microsoft Office template, a spreadsheet of some sort, or a Word document, or any sort of template at all that could then be shared and disseminated with others to make their job easier. I've worked in environments where that simply isn't done. The job, it seemingly has to be redone over and over. For example, I was in a case where the same job is done every year at the same time, but by a different person every year. And that person who does that job has to reinvent the wheel every single year. None of those people will ever create this document, save it, share it with other people, and so that they can use it the next year. No, it's redone every year, and that included myself when it came my turn to do it, and I created a template, and I was so proud of it, and I shared it with others. Outstanding failure. Nobody was interested in my template. No one used it, and the next year someone did it all over from scratch again. I could never understand why that is. Now I understand, based on Hikosaemon's article, that the act of going through the steps of solving the problem, of doing the actual work, was more important than the actual time-saving device of the template itself. Another one that I couldn't understand was the way that we would sometimes, in one organization I worked with, we had one event, again, occurring every year at the same time, every year. The event would occur, and we'd have a post-event meeting every year about that event, a different team every year, where we would go over excruciating detail, what was good, what was bad, what worked, and what didn't work at this event. Never once was that information passed on to the next year's team. It was as though we were having our follow-up meeting in order to simply have the follow-up meeting, and what we learned, the best practices that were gained from that, were not shared with the next group. They were left to be discovered by the next group afresh. I could never understand why we did that. Why are we having this meeting if we're not going to share what we learned with next year's team? And now I understand why. And I won't give it away, but I want you guys to go have a look at Hiko's outstanding article. I now understand that the process, the Karate Kid methodology of wax on, wax off, it's much better to have to do it by hand over and over than for someone to come up with a buffing machine or worse yet, a robot to remove the job altogether. Although Japan is full of robots and time-saving methods, it's a slightly different thing. The idea is that in the work environment and in the procedures of life, one wants to demonstrate their ability to learn, gain, and express the proper procedures and protocols much rather than finding a better way. There you go. Well, I hope I've summarized that well, and I want to encourage you all to go have a look at Hiko's article. I can't put a link here because it's not a YouTube link. Instead, what I'll do is put the information down below in the info section. Now, I can't do it right now. I'm going to upload this right now, and I won't be able to do that for several hours to put that information in there. So, if you see this video and I don't have the links information down below, just go ahead and look at Hikosaemon on YouTube. Check out there and on Twitter, and you'll find his links there. But I'll get it there eventually. Take care. All right, time for my day to begin. Bye-bye. My protocols to start. See you.